He's everyone's favorite demiurge. We're talking about Billy Kaplan, Maximov, whatever, aka Wiccan. Hi, I'm Nando, and in this series, I take a character from Marvel Comics, I talk about their background, their power set, their personality, and I give you some reading recommendations. And this is all because this character is being introduced into the collectible card game Marvel Snap. But if you just want to hear about the character, that's the first like 80% of the video. Okay, Billy, super important character. For two reasons. Number one, in the comics, very, very important. Number two, and I'm saying this, a month and change before it comes out, and, every single sign has been pointing to this as who this character is, but it certainly seems like he's about to be introduced in the next big Marvel Cinematic Universe project, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about Billy Kaplan from the comics. You're probably familiar with the story of Scarlet Witch and Vision, two Avengers who fell in love and had kids using magic. It's the whole premise of the WandaVision show, and it kind of goes similarly to how it goes in the show. The kids show up, they're kind of an illusion. In the show, it's a part of Wanda that she's creating. In the comics, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Mephisto gives a part of himself to Wanda as a trick, and then has another wizard come and recollect those pieces of his soul or being, and they are what the twins are. So Billy and Tommy are created by Wanda, because obviously, her and the Vision can't, maybe they can, but we don't really get into it that much in the comics, as far as I know. Listen, I'm sure somebody in the comics could tell me what the Vision's got going on, if that's possible. I'm gonna guess no. Although I guess he could transform, right? We're not talking about this. That's not what this video is. So Wanda and Vision get married, they move to Lodi, New Jersey, shout out Bergen County, and then they have the kids, and then Master Pandemonium comes, reclaims them for the devil. Wanda's very upset about this. Her mind is wiped, which is what happens in comics whenever something's kind of confusing, and she'll find out about this later in Avengers Disassembled, and it's one of the things that drives her to attack the Avengers and end up creating House of M, kind of, and then end up doing the No More Mutants. Like, a lot of things that happened in the 2000s were set into place by this event. Oh, and also one thing, so the twins, Billy and Tommy, I did not know this until I started doing research for this. I can't remember who Tommy is named after. I think it's Phineas Horton. I think his name is Phineas Thomas Horton, maybe, the creator of the original Human Torch, because the Human Torch's body is what they used to make Vision. That one I might be a little bit off on, but then the second one I know. Billy is named after Simon Williams, Wonder Man, whose brain patterns were used to make the Vision. In the show, Billy is named after Shakespeare, and I can't remember who Tommy is named after, but it's that. But yeah, that's just because there is no Wonder Man, or at least there's not yet, there will be soon. So when Mephisto absorbed those two parts from himself back, because of Wanda's very powerful magic, I believe, and this stuff gets retconned so much, and so many things, we're just talking about this one whole big retcon. But because of this, and because of Scarlet Witch doing No More Mutants, and unleashing a wave of energy after House of M and rewriting reality to some extent, one of the lasting changes from House of M, besides No More Mutants existing, was that two children existed before this. So like back in time, 15 or 14 years or whatever, these kids were born. Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard. So Billy is born to the Kaplan family, and he is just a normal, teenage boy. He's gay, he gets bullied for that, and this is like the 2000s, so people were still getting bullied for being gay, and I'm sure they still do, but it was like more of a thing then. He got in a fight with some bullies and electrocuted them, used like kind of an electrical power. It wasn't clear to Billy, or to really anyone, what the deal was with that. Like, I guess at the time, it seemed like Billy was an electricity hero, which we always need one of those. Those are always pretty cool. But after more time passed, it turned out that was just a really, really simple form of Billy's magical ability. This is what he inherited from his mother, the Scarlet Witch, who at the time was presumed missing. Nobody knew what her deal was. I want to say at this point, she had her memory erased and she was just living in the world. She actually met Billy outside of Avengers Mansion because he was very confused about all of this, and she was just like, hey kid, it's gonna be okay. And then that was like a little cute moment. So at this point, Billy's like, I don't know what to do. I have superpowers. They're bad. Like, they're gonna get me in trouble because I keep electrocuting people, or at least I did kind of electrocute some bullies. But like, there's nothing to do with them because at this point, the Avengers have been disassembled. There's nowhere for Billy to go. He could go, to the X-Men or something, because at this point, it's not clear if he is a mutant or not. I would imagine he would just assume he's not, because no new mutants have been born since House of M happen, but still, I feel like if I'm him, I'm like, I'm gonna go with him, or just the Fantastic Four, or one of those guys. But, you know, I mean, the Avengers makes sense as like a first place to go, because that is where just anybody, you know, they'll take a mutant, they'll take an alien, they'll take whatever your superpowers come from, you can join. Whereas with the X-Men, they might turn you away if you're not a mutant. Although I think with Billy, they could make an exception, especially in that time when there's like 200 mutants. I think they would have gone like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just pretend you're a mutant. In fact, that'll be really handy if anybody ever comes with one of those mutant nullifying guns or something. We could use you, and you could just rip them all into shreds or whatever. But Avengers Mansion is where Billy's going to meet the character that will start the Young Avengers, Iron Lad. This kid is Kang from the future, but he's young. It's so weird. Old Kang went to meet young Kang, and he was like, hey man, look, it's all going to be okay, because you're getting bullied now, but it's a lot of bullying happening in Marvel at this point. You're getting bullied now, but it's cool, because we're going to be Kang. But then young Kang is like, I don't want to be Kang, and he time travels away. He's like, you know what, I'll just be a superhero. I'll go back to this time when there weren't really any superheroes around, and I'll form my own kid Avengers. So he creates this identity for Billy. He also knows about Teddy, the Hulkling, who we will get to, and Elijah Bradley, the Patriot. So those four create the Young Avengers. Now, at the time, Billy, because of the electricity powers, was an electricity-themed hero. So, of course, he would take on the Thor role, and he was called the Asgardian. Now, he knew at the time that he had other powers, or that his powers could do a bunch of stuff, but he was sort of limiting them to this. Honestly, it seems like for like simplicity's sake, for the gimmick, and also because the other powers didn't really know how they worked, but with these, he was like, I think I can do it. Eventually, they met Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang. They fought Kang again, and everybody was like, Billy, use your powers to get rid of his shield. And he's like, all right, fine. And he used his powers the way that they're like regularly used, which is Billy can visualize something. He can speak it into existence. We also like Kang's shield disappear, and then once he believes in it enough, that will happen. It's a little bit like Zatanna, although Zatanna has to do all that stuff backwards, or Nico Minoru, who has to say a word into the Wand of One. Like, it's one of those. Or he's like Doctor Strange, but it's not about incantations. It's about him believing in it. And that's like kind of how Wanda exists. It's that very, you know, chaotic kind of magic. So Billy joins the Young Avengers, has a thing going on with Teddy. I'm just realizing now it's Teddy and Tommy. I gotta make sure I don't get those confused in my head. Teddy is Hulkling. Teddy, as we know, he's a shapeshifter, but at the time he was trying to pretend to be a Hulk character, and we turn out he's a shapeshifter because he's part Skrull. It's part of a storyline that will be important, but we'll handle that when we get to Teddy stuff. But they're both gay and they have a relationship together. Billy comes out to his parents. It's kind of cute, but accidentally he's trying to come out as a superhero, but they take that as him coming out of the closet as gay, so that's funny. And I would say Billy's like one of the most significant. I wouldn't say, okay, he's not the most significant gay character in comics, but he's the most significant Marvel Comics character, like, for being gay, kind of, because there's characters, you know, like Mystique, I would say, is one of the higher profile characters, or Deadpool, if you want to say, and gay, I'm, you know, LGBTQIA+, but like, Billy was created as like a gay child. A lot of these other characters, like Mystique, were just kind of created, and then afterwards it was like retconned, or the more we explored their backstory, we're like, oh, that's what's going on with this character, that's interesting. Billy, that was like from jump, and by from jump, I mean like from the creation of Billy Kaplan, obviously not like Wanda's babies that got absorbed into Dr. Pandemonium's arms or whatever. But like Billy, I think part of why he's so popular is because I think he is okay, this is somewhat editorial. I think he's the best costume in the Young Avengers. Oh, I don't even believe that. I love Kate Bishop's costume. It's tied. Best costume, fun attitude. You know, he's, I would say, the closest thing the Young Avengers has to like a main character. Well, especially because Iron Lad, who creates the Young Avengers, has to leave. But Billy is the focus of a lot of these stories, and he will be going forward because, okay, so there's two big Billy Kaplan stories. He's done a bunch of other things. He's been on a couple of different teams, but these are the two that matter. First one, everybody that knows it is saying it in their head, the Children's Crusade. So this story is about Wanda is back, and the team needs to go rescue her. And the Avengers at this point are like, hey, kids, don't do that. But they're like, we got to do it anyway. We're kids. But they get some help from Magneto. At this point, they've also recruited Billy's brother, Tommy. Tommy is not related to Billy, and we'll talk about his origin a little bit more. But it's clear that they're the same guy, like they're twins. It's complicated. So Tommy and Billy both know that they are somehow like connected to the Scarlet Witch. but they don't know exactly how. But everybody starts looking for her because she pops up again. The mutants are like, we gotta kill this one because we hate her for getting rid of all of our mutants. And a lot of the Avengers are like, we gotta take care of Wanda, like we have to protect her, or like, you know, put her down gently because she's so dangerous. Look at all the stuff she did to us. Look at all the Avengers she got killed, even though Hawkeye's already back and Scott's gonna become back eventually. But like, that's like something that there were a lot of consequences at the time, at least they assumed there were. But Billy, I would say, is at the center of this story because Billy has the same powers as his mom. They both have this powerful chaos magic. And there is an assumption that if he keeps on the track that he's on, Billy will be like one of the most powerful magical beings in Marvel Comics by the time he's an adult. That's gone through a couple of different iterations. I want to say at one point he was prophesied to be the Sorcerer Supreme, but then there's another being that we'll get to that is closer to what he is. But so Children's Crusade's all about figuring out what happened to Wanda. They search for a Wanda. It turns out to be Doombot, which means Dr. Doom's got her. Dr. Doom has brainwashed her into thinking she's somebody else, and they are getting married, and then the Avengers show up and the X-Men show up. It's a disaster. Kang, Iron Lad shows up. Characters are dying. Characters are coming back. So Billy and Tommy at this point are like, oh, we're Wanda's kids. It's kind of a family. Although realistically, like, they still have parents that they still, you don't recognize as their actual birth parents, but they also know they're like Wanda's reincarnated children. And that explains why their powers are so similar to hers and Quicksilver, her brother, and not like incest. Like in the Ultimate Universe, this is 616, so they're both normal. I mean, Quicksilver's always been like a little overprotective, but in like a not super creepy way. So over the course of this book, Billy learns a lot about his powers, but I would say the book where he really comes into his own is Young Avengers Volume 2. We talked about this before because this is the Young Avengers that Marvel Boy is from. It is also where Kate Bishop is also on the team. So like two of the characters we've talked about so far this month have been on this version of the Young Avengers. I mean, all the characters we're going to talk about this month have been on it. The one character that is, you know, traditionally on the Young Avengers that is not, well, actually there's two. Patriot and Iron Lad are not on this version of the team. They're the founding members who don't make it over here. And Stature, I guess. But the rest of them do. In this story, Billy accidentally summons an evil mother spirit thing from another dimension, not on purpose, but like he's trying to bring, I think, Teddy's mother back to life or something. I can't remember exactly why, but it's something to do with that. Him and Teddy have this relationship that's been going on for a little while, but it's getting a little bit rocky. They're having some fights. Billy accidentally brings over this mother parasite, and it can, you know, trick all the adults into thinking everything's cool, but then it creates versions of your parents, your mother specifically, and then it's like an evil version of them. So it's this big plague that's spreading across the Marvel Universe, and only the kids can recognize it. I think this is a great story for children and like for a child hero team, because it's like you need an excuse usually for why the adults can't help. And it's like the monster says they can't. It's like, that's perfect. Good enough for me. The big parts of the story that are important. Billy and Teddy kind of break up, but Billy ends up training with Kid Loki, who at this point is a good guy. He is doing good. He's trying again because he got reincarnated, kind of. It's confusing because Billy has the destiny to be the Demiurge. Now, the Demiurge is a word I was confusing for a while I was reading this with a different thing called the Dark Urge. The Dark Urge, if you've watched my Great Lake Avengers pitch video, is like the Grim Reaper figure in the Marvel Universe that Doorman will eventually become. This is different. The Demiurge, in the way that it exists in all mythology and stuff, is like the creator of the universe, basically. So that's what Billy is going to level up to. But at the point he's at now, he doesn't have a lot of power to take care of Mother and like fight her because she's just too powerful. But over the course of this book, Billy trains and trains and trains, unlocks his power within himself. And what he is able to do is fly out of the comic book kind of and look at it, but not like the way She-Hulk and Deadpool and some of these other comic awareness characters do, but more like in a, you know, cosmic sense, can't see everything, but just it's presented like a comic, and he's just able to take Mother out of the comic. It's a pretty fun moment, but it's also like, this is something that, you know, we've seen like Wanda warp reality. We've seen other reality warpers warp reality, but a lot of the time we just see it as like Wanda's there, and then she has a big brain blast or whatever, and then everything's different. This is one of the times where you actually see him do it, and like, not that. Yeah, this has to go. Get rid of that, and then we're good. So that's kind of fun. Billy and them joined the Avengers after that, and obviously had stories with Teddy. He also joined a team called Strike Force. That was a pretty interesting book, which I would recommend to people. If, you know, it's not like the essential Billy reading, but I think it's fun. Billy and Teddy eventually get married. Billy and Teddy have space adventures that all has to do with Teddy's past and his future, which we will get to. But they really are like the most popular, I would say. Like, and I'm counting all the LGBTQ, everybody, the most popular relationship like that in comics. Like, they connected with young readers at the perfect time and like grew up with readers who were just getting involved in comics, especially when like, you know, the Avengers movies and like that, you know, MCU was happening, the X-Men movies were happening, Spider-Man movies were happening. People that hadn't been huge fans of these before were like being brought on board, and oh, there's this new thing called Young Avengers, perfect. And that's where Billy's from. I would say Billy's personality is pretty agreeable. Sometimes he's depressed because of all of his destiny and like tragedy associated with him, but I would say Billy is not like, he doesn't read like a character like, I don't know, I guess he doesn't read like Patriot, who is originally the leader of the Young Avengers kind of, and takes everything very seriously and is trying to be like kind of Batman. Oh, I'm gonna be a superhero just like my parents, or, you know, uncle or granduncle or whatever he is. In this, Billy's just like, I'm gonna be a superhero, that'll be fun, that'll be better than getting bullied, and oh, here's a boyfriend that he's had forever. So it's a good relationship, it's healthy in a way that people like. As far as reading recommendations, I mean, I would say it's gonna be Young Avengers 1, Children's Crusade 1, and Young Avengers 1 again, only because like you have to read those stories. I don't think any of them, if you wanted to read just the end of Young Avengers like volume 2 to see some of the Demiurge stuff, you could, but it won't really mean anything. And the same goes for Children's Crusade. A lot of the stuff that happens at the end of Children's Crusade, especially how it relates to Billy, is very important, but it doesn't really mean anything out of context. So like I've said for pretty much all of these guys, Young Avengers Volume 1, Issue 1, written by Alan Heinberg, with art by Jim Chung, John Dell, Justin Ponzer, and Corey Petit. Eventually, when we do these, like, we'll do these seasons, and they won't all be about characters that were all introduced at the same time in the same couple of books, so it'll be a little bit more diversity. But honestly, like, this is good, right? If you've always wanted to learn about these characters and you watch all of these videos, like, just read these 3 runs and you'll get most of it. Like, I do think there's a little bit of extra Kate Bishop stuff that's good, and then there's obviously some good Marvel Boy stuff out there, especially for Wiccan, Speed, and Hulkling. Like, this is most of it. So then, second recommendation, Children's Crusade, say issue 1, also written by Alan Heinberg, with art by Jim Chung, Mark Morales, Justin Ponzer, and Corey Petit. It's not a very long series, a lot happens, I think it's a lot of fun. And then the book I've been recommending to people forever, but I would say like might be my favorite of these runs, and I think the most interesting version of what the Young Avengers can be, as opposed to like this team brought together of kids that are all like, I'm this one's kid, I'm this one's kid, and we're all, and that's not what they are, but that's what they're kind of presented as originally. This is just a bunch of kids accidentally bumping into each other and solving a kid problem. I was like, they're written a little bit more like actual kids, maybe than they are in Young Avengers. Although I do think like the first volume of that is very good and characterizes them all well. That I think Young Avengers 2 is really where I got a sense for like why people like these characters. So that's written by Kieran Gillen, with art by Jamie McIlvey, Mike Norton, Matt Wilson, and Clayton Cowles. Those are your 3. I would say read those and you'll get these characters for sure. It is worth noting that this character, Billy Maximoff, was in the WandaVision show in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he's played by 3 different actors, a baby, 5-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Baby is Ari Feldman. The 5-year-old is Balin Belitz, and Justin Hilliard is the 10-year-old. That's like the main Billy. In the show, he has powers very similar to Wanda's powers. They're not electricity E. They're more, you know, glowy blue. He's able to stop bullets. He's able to stop speed. He's able to read minds. Like, he's got a lot of good powers. I mean, he's also able to like kind of see the future, I think. He can do a lot of stuff. They put on the Wiccan costume for the Halloween episode. That's as close as we've gotten to it on screen so far. However, in like a month, Agatha All Along premieres on Disney+. It is a story focusing on Agatha Harkness, who was a big part of the Billy Tommy story in WandaVision. It certainly seems, and has seemed like this for a very long time, that Heartstopper's Joe Locke will be playing Billy. I think right now if you just look at like press releases and stuff, his character is named Teen, but that is because they are trying to hide who he is probably, and I could be wrong. This could be a wonderful misdirect. You know, maybe this is secretly Mephisto. Probably not. It's probably the kid who should play this role because he's, everybody I know that loves Billy has always been like, yeah, Joe Locke from Heartstopper, like, get him. He looks great. He's the right age. He's a fun actor. Everybody likes him. People have also suggested that his partner on the show should play Teddy as well, although I don't know if anything like that's ever been in motion. I'm pretty sure they even asked Kit Connor kind of recently if he would ever play Teddy, and the answer they gave, I think, was no, although, as we've seen, for years and years now, that could totally be a lie. I understand why the fan casting happens. Like, if we got that, that would be great. But as far as right now, there does not appear to be a plan to put Teddy into anything. It also doesn't seem like Tommy is going to factor into this show at all, which makes sense because he's not one of the original Young Avengers. He is brought on after the fact. This seems like it focuses more on the magical characters, so of course Billy would be at the center of that. And he'd be this like mysterious teen. What's he supposed to be doing here? I think that makes sense. It's also interesting. I think people pointed this out in the trailer for Agatha all along. Agatha looks at the list of like dead people or something when she's doing her Mayor of Easttown bit, and she sees W. Maximoff, and it's like, oh, Wanda. And that would also be Billy's name. William Maximoff is the name of the fake child that she created. Billy Kaplan is his name later when he is born by going back in time. Comics, huh? They're fun. In Marvel Snap, Billy is a 4-cost 5 power with the on-reveal effect if you've spent all your energy in this game plus 2 max energy. So he's a ramp card. He's a card that is going to give you more energy. I think you can see this as being based on one of 2 things that the comic character does. So obviously he's a reality warper. He changes the amount of like energy and possibilities you can play cards. Like, I think that makes sense. He can make cards more powerful, like Sunspot, a character who he was on the New Avengers with. He also works very well with Tommy, his brother. I wouldn't say he works great with Teddy. It doesn't work bad with Teddy because Teddy's a 6 cost, so why wouldn't you'd be able to get him out earlier. The easiest line that you could possibly do: Quicksilver, Domino, Tommy, Billy. And then you've got 7 power going into turn 5 and 8 power going into turn 6. You also have to use all of those cards, so they're not all everybody's favorite, but like that's how that character was envisioned. There are a couple other cards to do this. There's Corvus Clave, who kills 2 cards, discards 2 cards, and then you get another power. There's Psylocke, who's able to add power. And then the one that everybody always thinks about is Electro. Now, I do think one of the things that's interesting about the Billy Electro connection, originally Billy was an electricity hero. That was how he sold himself in the original Young Avengers days when he was Asgardian. So it's kind of interesting that like him and Electro, 2 electricity heroes, have the ability to like juice up your deck, right? That's how I'm sure you would explain it if it was Electro. And Billy, there's more rules because that's magic. It comes at a cost. But if you can pull it off, it's a lot of power. And I'm sure that like there is something that people would like about this. I guess the other character that does this, I wouldn't say it's a ramp deck, but like Arishem gives you 1 extra power. Let's see, what characters does he work really well with? Does he work well with Wanda? Yeah, she's a 2 cost. You're going to want a 2 cost for either turn 2 or turn 3, so that's good. I think that's helpful. Iron Lad, not really. He's a 4 cost. You'll play one or the other. Patriot, 3 cost for sure. Stature works okay. Kate Bishop, I would say works very well, because Kate Bishop is a 2 cost that gives you 2 1-cost cards. So like if you do want to do the ramp with just, a random 1-cost card, let's say Sunspot, Kate Bishop, then on turn 3, you either have to play a 3-cost card or a 2-cost card and 1 of the arrows, or a 1-cost card and 2 of the arrows. But like all those are doable. The problem you run into here is your board starts to get really full before you can actually benefit from all this extra energy. So that's the thing people have to think about. Oh, duh. And then Hope Summers is the other card that would fit into a ramp deck. Although Hope Summers is not as consistent, I would say, as Billy, where you just get more power. You have to get it by doing something every turn. I would say by far she's the most popular ramp card as of now. I don't expect that to change just because Billy does take a lot more work. We'll have to see what people are able to do with that turn 6, 8 energy. Like if people are able to pull off really incredible combos, especially if turn 4 Billy, turn 5, like a 2 cost plus a Sarah, like turn 6, you can play so many cards and do a lot of pretty wild things. Like especially a lot of those, decks that are like a Wong and a Mystique and then a Silver Surfer, like you can get away with some crazy stuff there. Other cards that Billy works well with, America Chavez, low cost, yes. You know what? Actually, you do have a really good ramp there. You have America 1, Kate 2, don't even need the arrows, Patriot 3, Wiccan 4. Do those cards work together? Not really. but they will get you this ramp. And then, do we have a 5 cost in this group? I don't think we do. But then your 6 is Hulkling. And that's another nice thing about this. You can go straight from a turn 4 Billy to a turn 5 6 cost Teddy. Then maybe one of the Kate Bishop arrows. Is this crazy? Like, I think this could work. There's no Prodigy in the game. Works okay with Marvel Boy. You know what? Actually, works pretty well with Marvel Boy, because Marvel Boy, you play him on 3, and you're going to be playing 1s before that, so he'll power those up. So that's good. Who else? Is there anything else I'm not thinking of? Like Vision, not super well with Vision. We don't have a Wonder Man card yet. Doctor Doom, I guess, kind of well. He'll be able to play him. Kid Loki. Okay, so Billy Loki. Let's think about this for a second. I think with Billy Loki, you'd want to do Magic on 3, which is cool because it's another Magic character. Magic on 3, Billy on 4, Loki, and then whatever else you want, because you probably have a little bit extra work. You know what? No, you couldn't do Loki. You could do... Loki's a 4 cost, right? Is Loki a 4 cost? Loki's a 3 cost now? Oh, shit. Hell yeah. I keep forgetting. I don't remember how many Loki is. That synergy's great. Forget Patriot. Okay. Maybe the best synergy so far. America into Kate into Loki. Now, you've got to have Wiccan in your hand already. Into Wiccan on 4. So now you've got 2 turns to spend 15 energy, and you're going to get all these new cards from your opponent, and you're able to, like, you know, pretty much play anything. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good power. Plus, obviously, whatever's in your hand, which by this point I'm assuming would be something good. But that's the thing with Billy, and I think this kind of works well with how Billy works in the comics and like what this character's limitations are. It's high risk, high reward, right? You can get a lot done, but if you come to turn 3 and you don't have the right card to play, your Billy is useless. Honestly, it's like going to be one of those cards that's kind of embarrassing to play on turn 4 if you didn't use all your energy. You know what else is interesting? Wanda and the High Evolutionary have this weird past where, you know, Wundagore Mountain, that's where he lives, that's where kind of she's from in Transia. Sometimes he actually created them, but sometimes actually they're mutants, and this has been retconned whenever it's convenient for Marvel Comics syncing up with movies. But Billy does not work well. He, in fact, works very poorly with the High Evolutionary, so that's kind of fun because they wouldn't like each other. I don't know, okay with Super Skrull, pretty well with Captain America. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of characters that Billy works well with. I think this power is good. It's a good representation of Billy. It gives you a lot of possibilities, but you gotta work for it. Can't just get it. I do think that America, Kate, Loki, Wiccan plays interesting. America, Kate, Loki, Wiccan, Magic plus any 4 cost on turn 5, because then you'll have 2 more draws and you'll get to play. Probably what you'll want is some really powerful cards. I think like a She-Hulk will work really well with, because you'll have so much leftover energy. You know, Sunspot. I think Sunspot is a better draw, like a first card, than America, but it's like America and him are on the Young Avengers, so I like that better. Also, America's come with that cool variant, the Flaviano variant. So, oh yeah, variants. Let's see. Obviously, like everybody else, one really cool one, and the base art for Wiccan I think is pretty good. Wiccan's art is pretty solid. So there's the Eduardo Mello, Ryan Kincaid, that's like the base Wiccan. I think the base Wiccan is pretty good. Honestly, like most of the times the base art is fine. It's just like that Cersei, man. Some of them are just not good. Then obviously the Spotlight Cash comes with the Flaviano, and that is gorgeous. Love the purple. Love those colors. Again, a lot of the other Young Avengers have similar colors. And then the other one here is his Asgardian costume, which is cool. You can never see that anymore. And that is also by Eduardo Mello and Ryan Kincaid. So that's interesting. I would say one of the cooler things about Billy's costume in recent years, it's got the cape, got the headband, and sometimes it doesn't even have the headband, but also has like this cool black bodysuit that has that kind of sparkly galaxy effect, where I think you could see this playing out in any real life things. I haven't seen like an animated thing with that effect where like it's black and you move the arms, but all the background stuff stays the same. You know what I'm talking about? That's like an effect that comes up in some stuff. I like the way that costume looks on Billy. Like, I just think that's a cool, pretty unique design. But yeah, I think obviously out of all of these, the Flaviano is the best, just because the Flaviano is really good. But honestly, I think the space art's not bad. It's like just a solid Wiccan pick. But yeah, I'm looking at some of these Wiccan brews. You know, there's interesting things you can do with Wiccan. But this is one of those cards that's going to take a while for me at least to see what people do with it and how this card is used. That's my whole snap all this stuff on Wiccan. Billy Kaplan. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, like this video, share this video. I know this one got long. This is a huge character. Like, I looked this up because I always look this up. They, some of these guys have like 50 appearances, Marvel Boy, I don't remember how many. It is a few. Billy, I think on the thing I looked at, like 200 appearances, which is high for one of these guys. Like, usually I'm introducing a character like Copycat with 20 appearances, but Billy has a lot more history and people like him a lot more than, no offense, Copycat, but Billy's more popular. So thank you for watching this. I also have a Young Avengers pitch if you just want to see what I would do with the Young Avengers, because I do have some ideas. That's on my YouTube channel, Nando V Movies. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay safe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.